growing up, I pretty much grew up in an amazing home. I had an awesome mom and dad and older sister, and man, I can't complain at all about the way that I was raised, and I had a perfect family, a great family. I grew up in church. I went to Sunday school. I made a profession of faith at a young age, was baptized. I went to a Christian school. And so, I've heard of Jesus. I knew who he was. I heard about the cross and all those things. But the thing is that I don't really feel like that really affected me. I know I made a decision when I was younger, but I don't know if I really knew what decision I had made or what kind of impact that should make on my life. Fast forward a little bit, in the 5th grade, I was introduced to this game of basketball, and I went to a small school, and so because it was small, they didn't have enough to make a junior high basketball team, and so they had to go all the way down to 5th grade to have a roster, and I just remember absolutely falling in love with the game, and I would play that from 5th all the way to 12th grade, and I loved it, man. I would stay up late and play. I'd wake up early to play, and no matter how cold it was or how hot it was, I was always playing, and really that just kind of became something that I worshiped. I wanted to be the best at it. I wanted for people to know that I was really good at it, and I love the competitiveness of it, and that's really what drove me. I think that really drove me, maybe morally, maybe if that makes sense. I wanted to play, and so I wanted to play basketball, and I knew that if I did anything to get in trouble, that would be the thing that my mom and dad would probably take away from me. And so I wanted to make sure that I did what was right, and I made sure that I did what was right in their eyes. And it really wasn't my relationship with Jesus that morally kept me wanting to be the person he created me to be. It was more just I didn't want to get in trouble because I wanted to play ball, and I worshiped that. Because basketball was life, everything started kind of not really being as important. And so church was one of those things. I kind of got, just to be honest, I got bored with church. And this is kind of as like a, kind of junior high age, and kind of in between junior high, middle school, high school kind of thing. And yeah, I remember just kind of going to church and just kind of being bored with it. And I remember just simply going and standing and sitting and standing and sitting and listening to a guy talk for 30 minutes and just thinking, man, like I could be playing basketball right now. I could be doing something different. And so I was not involved in youth group on Wednesday nights. I would come up with some of the best excuses of why I couldn't go to youth group, and I just did not have a desire at all. Just wanted to play basketball, and my family was extremely patient with me and encouraged me to try to be involved and go. And I know that was difficult for them to try to figure out how do we balance, not forcing our kid to go to church, but also knowing that we need to, he needs to go. So I remember kind of being on the verge of pretty much checking myself out of church and really just going because of mom and dad, and just to kind of satisfy them. And I remember as a 10th grader, there was this girl in our school, and she was beautiful, and she was smart, and she had everything going on. And I always just remember just thinking, man, I don't have a shot with her. I was a 10th grader, she was 11th grader, and it's like, man, I don't have a shot with her. And I basically, long story short, I got the opportunity to go out on a date with her somehow, some way, and ended up starting a relationship with her. And she invited me to go to church and on Wednesday nights and on midweek, and I thought, man, this is a perfect opportunity. Like, I get to hang out with her on the weekends, and I get to hang out with her during school and on a Wednesday night. And so I was really excited about that, and I started going to church with her on Wednesday nights. And man, it was different. It was different than what I was used to. It was different than the casual stand up, sit down Sunday morning kind of thing, traditional service kind of thing. It was different, and I just remember going and just really enjoying. And at first I was simply going just for her, and then and things started kind of changing, and I just remember going because I actually enjoyed going. So I would go with her on Wednesday nights, and I'd go with my family on Sunday mornings. And I remember as a junior in high school, sitting in a chapel service, because I went to a Christian school. We had chapel during the day in some weeks, and I remember sitting there and just kind of the speaker speaking that day, and just really talking about the cross and talking about what Jesus Christ did for me, and really realizing that I had no clue what my decision when I was a kid at Vacation Bible School really meant. And I believe that it was God drawing me to Himself. I believe that, that dating relationship, and that I might have been chasing a girl, but God was drawing me to Himself, and He was showing me things. So all those things just kind of was building up to this moment as a junior in high school. And I remember, that day in the back of that auditorium, praying with my principal and accepting Christ that day, and kind of saying, this is the moment that I really believe that I'm making a profession of faith. And but I just remember from that point on, like, I made a profession of faith, but nothing really changed in my life. I still was devoted to basketball, and I still was devoted to my girlfriend, and I still went to church, but I really wasn't devoted to Jesus, and I really wasn't devoted to being more like Him or being deployed on His mission. And I just remember just being a good kid. I wasn't a kid that was out on the party scene, or you never catch me on the weekends, partying or anything like that. But I really just this kind of good kid that really didn't do anything for Jesus. So I just kind of was in that moment from like the 11th grade all the way to the 12th grade. And in that time, I still was plugged into church on Wednesday nights. The girl that I was dating, she ended up graduating and going on to college, and we remained together. And so she wasn't here on Wednesday nights, but I just kept coming. I just kept coming on Wednesday nights and kept being a part of what was going on at the church, and still just trying to figure out, what my place was and what was God calling me to do. And I remember the student pastor there was investing in me and trying to help me, to giving me wisdom and kind of discipling me and giving me some direction on how I needed to go, and making an impact in my life. And so the senior year comes of my basketball career, I guess, and I ended up graduating high school, and lo and behold, I was not good enough to go to the NBA. I know that sounds extremely shocking, but I really thought that I was going to go play basketball somewhere. That was really my goal. And so when I graduated high school, I wasn't playing basketball anywhere, and I was kind of like, what am I going to do in my life? Because that literally defined who I was from the 5th grade all the way to the 12th grade. And I remember at the church, we had a mission trip coming up to Tupelo, Mississippi. And so I ended up signing up for it, and majority of the reason just because my girlfriend was signed up to go, and so I ended up going. And the base of the trip was, we would do like construction work in the day, and then at night we would have a worship service and things like that. And I remember sitting in that worship service one night, the speaker was speaking out of 1 John 1:5 and 6. And he talked about how God is light. He said, "This is the message that we have heard from Him and declare to you, that God is light, and in Him there is no darkness." And he talked to us about how amazing God is, and what He did on the cross, and how that God is perfect. And that verse kind of started really sinking into me. And then verse 6 is what really got me, and it was said, if we if we say we have fellowship with Him and yet we walk in darkness, we lie and we don't practice the truth. And if you think about it, I'm not a bad kid. I'm not, according to society, I'm according to the world standards maybe. Like I said, I don't go out and party. I'm not doing things. Everybody thinks I'm just this awesome kid, but I'm not doing anything for Jesus. And so the reality is I'm really no different than anybody else. And so I just remember sitting there thinking, man, I am a liar. According to verse 6, I'm a liar because I'm walking in darkness. And I remember that reality, man, that reality check. And I truly feel like the creator of the universe come down that night in Tupelo, Mississippi, in Tupelo Middle School, and was sitting right beside me. And man, everything to that point, from when I was a kid in VBS to the things my mom and dad taught me, to meeting this girl, to being a part of this church and having the student pastor invest in me, all led to this one moment. And it was kind of this realization of, wow, man, I've completely wasted my time all the way up to this point. But I also believe that all those things in my life, all those different moments that happened, I believe that was God drawing me to Himself. And that was God helping me realize, and He took the game of basketball away from me, and it took different things like that for me to finally to be able to see Him. And as a kid, I'd heard these stories, but man, it was like at that moment in that middle school where I really came face to face with the reality of what Jesus did on the cross and how that should change everything about my life. And you know, because you think about the game of basketball or any sport, you know, those, you know, that sport did not die for my sins. That sport has done nothing for me eternally. And so I just remember it was at that moment I realized, man, I want to do something. I want to make an impact for God, for His glory, not for my glory. And you know, I just look back on my life, and I realized that God has done so much for me, and He has drawn me to Himself. And I realized that it's more than just saying a prayer, and it's more than just going to church and just trying to be a good person. But man, it's about the person of Jesus Christ. And it's about being devoted to Jesus. It's about developing in the character and conduct of Jesus and being more like Him. And it's about being deployed on His mission of making disciples that make disciples. And I remember, man, from that moment on, that's what I wanted to do. And, you know, looking back and say, what's the day that you made a real profession of faith? And what's the day that you can you say that you truly got saved, I guess? And I really don't know. I honestly don't know, but I know that I'm a child of God now, and I know He's called me to live on mission for Him, and that's my goal as a husband. I ended up marrying the girl that I started dating in the 10th grade, and we stayed together all the way through. And so I try to be the man that God's created me to be as a husband. I try to be the man, the dad that He's called me to be. Now, as I have a son, and you know, I want people not to see Justin and not to see him, but I want people to see Jesus, because ultimately that's going to be the thing that's going to bring them hope. And I live so much of my life just trying to be about me and myself. And you know, my story may make sense to some of you, and it may be completely opposite to others, but I believe that God was the entire time drawing me to Himself, and He put some incredible people in my life to help me see who He was, and then, you know, God completely opened up my eyes when I was in that middle school, and I just, you know, every day, man, I'm just trying to serve Him and trying to be more like Him. And my challenge, my question is, man, you know, was the prayer that you said, was that real? I know that I said a prayer and I didn't really do anything from it. And it took God really having to get a hold of me and taking some things away to help me realize that. And so I hope my story makes sense to some, and I hope that maybe this story helps you because this is who I am. My name's Justin, and this is my story.